welcome one and all. We've got a tremendous group. Thank you all for showing up early, being on time, and taking a half hour out of your life today. We still have people signing on. Today is September 22nd, 2016, and this is Mastermind call number 93. So we're coming up on 100. We'll have to do something for our 100th call, do something special. All my partners are on the call. I'll go around real quick. Tim, anything you want to share with the group before we get started?
Nope, not at all. You got a bunch of people in the queue. I want to hear from them today.
All right. Tom, anything from a customer service perspective?
No, I think we're good. Just to remind everybody, if they need anything, just always send us an email at support@alltheleads.com, and we track those and get back to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think our average response time is less than 15 minutes. So I always share with everybody, don't call me for technical questions. I'm the worst of the group. My partners will attest to that. Go to support@alltheleads and just be real specific about what you need help with, and somebody will usually get back to you very quickly. Chad, anything I know you're just completed the latest mastery course. Anything you want to share from a training perspective with everyone?
We just finished mastery, so we'll do another in mid-October for anybody who didn't get to jump in the September class. And I've been getting questions on, like, people have emailed me where to find these calls and the role play calls. So, again, I'll remind everybody, the best place right now to find the archive calls is to go to the Facebook group, which is All the Leads Mastermind. And if you're a member of the group, you'll be able to do this immediately. If you're not, you can request access. But go to the top right and in the search this group, put in the words role play or mastermind, and it'll bring all these calls to the top, so you can, and they're in chronological order from the most recent one back. So for right now, if you want to listen to more of these calls, if you're new to All the Leads, All the Leads Mastermind Facebook group is where you find that.
Excellent. Yeah, we had a high analytical person one time that started with the first call, and at the time we went through like 60 or 70 of them. And we encourage you to start and go backwards, because we have really come light years in the last 3.5 years. The information you're going to get in the more recent calls is just so much better and so much more complete than what we knew when we got started a few years ago. So, all right, great, guys. We got 4 people in the queue. We got room for more. Hit *6 and then hit 1, *6 and then 1 if you would like to participate. And let's go to the first person in the queue. Phone number ending in 0709. You are unmuted. How you doing?
Good. How are you today?
Excellent. Thank you for participating. What can we do for you?
Had a couple of questions about, I was one of the ones that you were overhearing on the conversation with a nice lady from Mississippi.
Good.
Yeah. One of the things that I've experienced in following up on these leads is the harsh, abrupt response that I get from violating somebody's privacy like that. I guess that is, for lack of a better word. I'll just use an example. I had a nice lady named Mrs. Smith that was in charge of an estate of the matriarch Smith, and she had a different first name, and she made it a point to call me directly and back and say, and this wasn't the first one, but say, I would appreciate it if you take me off your list. Your information that you have is not correct, and I could almost tell she was lying, because I hit her right away, and her name was different from the deceased, but it was a daughter, and simply stated, I asked her for some information. She hung up abruptly. I turned around and recalled her back and said, look, Susan, I'm sorry that I offended you in the letter, but I just want to take you off the list simply because, she didn't have any tolerance for listening at all, and she had a lot to say about how unprofessional and how sleazy she thought the whole operation was, and she didn't even understand. I tried to explain it to her, and I come from a long background of telephone sales, and so I get that. I'm not offended by it as much as I was a little frustrated with the process, and have worked my lines out different ways. But one of the things I wanted to point out to you, I'm sure you've heard these calls before. One of the things I wanted to point out to you that I thought was even more imperative was that I received my second mailing, and it's almost a duplicate of the first. And so I'm a little frustrated with that because I don't want to get into a situation where I download those letters and send them to you, and then I send them again. And I would undoubtedly send Susan one, and I'll tell you why. And that's just only because I believe there's a change on there. What she did was made it a point to go back in there and put the deceased in there as far as the contact person, as well as the person that had passed on. And so I thought that was pretty clever of her. I don't know how she did that. I don't know how she managed to go back into public record and remove her name. Is that common?
Yeah, if we could, let's deal with your second issue first, because that should, I'm not going to say it never happens, but it should never happen. And if you ever have an issue like that, you should not get duplicates. And if you do, that means there's some kind of a mistake with our researchers, and we will correct it right away. So please make us aware of that. If you get duplicates, you were either sent the wrong month. I mean, that happens, or there's a mistake with the researchers. And Tim, you want to address that a little bit? What he should do in a situation like that?
Well, let me be specific. I'm getting a mix of the old with the new, and that's what the frustration is. It's not that it's a complete duplicate. That's easy to figure out. Maybe perhaps you know that. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, I understood your question, and again, it's the same thing that Jim said. You know, if we're not aware of there being a problem, we can't fix it, and we quality control these things to the nth degree. So if we're not seeing that it's a duplicate, we need to figure out why we're not seeing it. But if you're getting a list that contains any duplicates from the previous month, we need to know about it. So for starters, certainly, as Tom said when we started, send an email to support@alltheleads.com. We'll address it today with the researcher, and we'll figure out what's going on with that. As far as there being a change to the record, not sure what your particular county does, and if you said that there's a change in this lady's record from the month before to this one, in other words, there's different information, it may mean that the county, in terms of the way that they reported, if there's a change to it, they may be updating it and making it look like it's a new record every time there is something changed in that record. If so, we need to be aware of it, because we won't repeat the thing in your next list by doing that. I'm not aware of any county ever doing that. However, it doesn't mean that it hasn't happened in your case. So, and I'm not trying to say that we don't ever make mistakes, and we do, but this is a very unusual question that you're asking, and in particular, you highlighted the fact that the record was different the second month, and that maybe your potential customer made the change. I'd like to look at both of them. If you'll just send that email to support, we'll take it offline, and we'll get right back to you and figure out what that is.
Okay, yeah, you've got it, obviously, because you downloaded it to me, but you are correct. And that's not in every case, though. So just so you know, I briefly looked at the new list, and there is a definite change in the first name, and in other words, it got duplicated. But in addition to that, there are others on there that are not. There's no change that I can see whatsoever.
Okay, I got it. So that's fine. So all I'm saying is, if you need to send that to support, because we don't know your name, we don't know the county, and I'm asking you to do it because we try to keep these as anonymous on the call as we can. But go ahead and send it to support, and we'll take care of you and make sure that we fix it immediately.
Sounds great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
And now let's talk about the first part of the issue, and just give him a little bit of feedback. Doesn't sound like he's needing a lot of it, but I'd like you guys to talk to him about the hearse chasing bottom feeder.
I was going to make a brief comment, and then I'll turn you over to our coach Chad. Let me say, you should definitely come on the next role play call. The first Wednesday of every month, we get together and have a role play call, and we've talked about this before. I can't say that now, I tested this system myself. For me, that never came up. And overall, the comments we get from the agents, it's way less than 1% of the time that people are hostile for you contacting them. What I always tell agents, I used to make 100 contacts a day, and no matter who you're calling, and it sounds like you're a seasoned prospector also. When I would call FSBOs, they'd say, when I call expireds, they'd say, where were you when the property was listed? When I'd call FSBOs, they'd say, just bring a buyer by it. You're always going to have people that misconstrue your intentions. Now, having said that, if you really come from the mindset that Chad suggests, and you're getting this a majority of the time, then I mean, it doesn't seem logical to me. There's something going on there that and I'm not saying it's in your communication. I don't know. Chad, what would you say? Or let me ask you this before we turn over to Chad. How many times have you had that response out of all the calls that you've made?
Well, I will point out that the call, I received 2 verbals and 1 return call.
So how many conversations have you had?
Could be my delivery. I don't think so. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, how many calls have you made altogether?
I have made 15 off the first
so
list.
Out of 15, you've had 3 negatives?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's an unusually high percentage. And it may just be that you're getting the bad ones out of the way up front, hopefully. Chad, you want to add to that? Because I know we've had this come up before.
Yeah, I think it was role play call number 10, maybe even 11, maybe both. This is what I've come to call this the shark attack objection, because it's the one that most agents are terrified of that happens to very few, if any. But it's always the big fear, and I spent quite a bit of time on it in Mastery. That's the one we hit first head on. What I find is, a lot of times, if they picked up the phone to call, it's because they're curious. And even if they're, at your throat and they're saying what you're doing is horrible and this and that, there's still some reason they picked up the phone to call. And some people are just going to be miserable people and just want to try to, just blast you because they took it wrong. But what I cover in the role play calls that you can go back and listen to kind of the full version is feel, felt, found. So just hit them with empathy and match their energy level and say, you know what, I totally understand how you feel. Actually, most of our clients feel the same way. And what they find is when they really understand why we reached out, that we can take a lot of this off of their plate and just help them, let them know that you have worked with a lot of people, validate their feelings, and then ask them an open-ended question. So, by the way, is there even real estate in the estate, or did you just call because I offended you? And ask them an abrupt, open-ended question and get them to start talking. And what you'll oftentimes find is when people are like that, what their ego is speaking or keeping them from telling you what the real problem was. A lot of times what they're really saying is, hey, I'm really curious why the hell a realtor would send me this, but I don't trust you. I'm going to call and be abrasive and maybe find out what you're doing. And if you can engage that person, ask good questions, and kind of lead them, gently redirect the conversation back down to a normal level, you can usually diffuse them. Now, if they don't diffuse, if they don't engage in your conversation, maybe they just wanted to call and rake you across the coals. But a lot of times you can turn those types of clients into actual listings, because they're probably mad because they've talked to an investor. An investor has given them a very, very low number in their mind, and they are projecting that on you, saying this SOB is trying to do the same thing as the last 5 guys that sent me their damn postcards. And it's as simple as saying, well, listen, we find out a lot of people are kind of where you are, and that's okay. What they find in the long run is when they understand the full scope of our service and how much we can help, they're really grateful that we did reach out. So, are you saying
like your program? What I'm a little concerned about is that, our inventory is very low. We have less than a month and a half of inventory here, which means, I'm sure you understand that. And the average city has maybe more like 12 or 13 months of inventory, which means that if it's all sold, it's pendings as well as actives. So what I'm saying is that the minute something comes along, there's 365 million people at it. So my chances of landing one of these, I think, are my percentage is low. So we're a small town, and and we have a premium right now for housing. So
But why don't you just send a more direct message and say just that? So, dear executor, we all know supply and demand drives market prices. Don't give your house away. Call me right now. And do it the letter, do it the postcard, and just cut the crap and just get right to it. And say you're going to get a bunch of letters from a bunch of people who want to buy your house for pennies on the dollar and benefit from this market. Give me 30 minutes and let me show you how I can represent you and protect you. And get that message into your letter and ship it. See if it works.
I appreciate the input. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. We got 5 people in the queue. We love participation, so let's go to the next person. Phone number ending in 3481. You're up.
Hey, this is Patty from Mississippi, and right now I'd just like to listen out and learn. So I don't really have a at the moment. Do I need to back out of the queue to give somebody else?
No, you're okay. Nice hearing a female voice. We'll move on to the next person.
Okay.
No problem. Welcome, Patty. All right, the next person is anonymous. I don't have a phone number, but you're up.
Hey, this is Jim. I'm brand new. This is my first week. My first batch of letters went out yesterday. And I'm putting together my team, and my question has to do with investors. I'm a real estate agent, so I'm used to typical commission splits with people. Can you share with what a typical investor is willing to? Is it a commission basis? Is it a flat fee? How are you guys? What's your experience with investors?
Chad?
Every deal is kind of a thumbprint. The way I prefer to work with my investors is leaving them completely unrepresented and not talking to them at all about commission, because they are, how do I put this nicely? They're all price sensitive. So what I do is I will discuss with the seller, we're going to represent you and your best interest in the event that we bring a buyer. We'll just make sure that they're unrepresented and we don't, we have an agency relationship with only you. And the way I sell that to the investor is, hey, listen, I'm going to bring this deal to you. It's under market. They just want to move it quickly. And the first page is an unrepresented party addendum. Go ahead and sign that, and you don't owe me a commission. Fair enough? Okay, perfect. And then I just collect the whole listing commission, which is 6%. If it's a really low-priced asset, like if it's under $50,000, you can do a flat fee listing and just say, we will list and sell the property for $2,000. And you get both sides of it because there's no cooperating broker. So that's how I have done mine. My investors don't push back. They don't need representation. They know what they're doing. I send them everything through DocuSign, and they know that they're not represented. So that's the cleanest way I've found to do it. That way you avoid any dual agency, questions. You stay out of the gray area.
Okay, that was helpful. Thanks.
Okay, great. 2 more people in the queue, and we got a familiar name there. We got a frequent caller, but next up is phone number ending in 2821.
All right. Can you guys hear me pretty well? I'm driving.
Can hear you great.
All right. Yeah, this is Bud up in Nebraska, in Omaha. And I'll give you a little – I'm going to go ahead, Jim, and I hope I don't hex myself, but I'm 30 minutes away from the signature. But,
I wasn't going to mention it because you asked me not to, but thank you. Go ahead, please.
Well, I owe it to you guys. You guys are great. So anyway, I'm driving out to a farm right now outside of west of Omaha, and on my August probate list, this came up, and I get my list. I go through it, send my letter, and I'm going to confess to all the other people on here that I don't always make my phone calls, and had gotten away from it. But in this last couple of weeks of September, I did make the phone calls, and a guy turned around and called me right back, and I had to jump off my dialer to take the call. But anyway, so he invited me out, and I'm listing a 88-acre chunk of farmland that's on the Union Pacific Transcontinental Main Line, and just out west of Omaha on a U.S. federal highway. So we're going to list it for $1 million. I'm going to work it with a guy who is a land and recreational hunting land specialist. And so Yeah, I get a negative phone call once in a while. Out of 100 a month, I'll probably get one or two negatives. One will be mad at the letter, and one or two will be mad at the phone call. But for $1 million listing at 6%, I don't care. Just move on. So I haven't got to the 6 per 100, 6%, or 6 listings in a month yet, but I'll take one or two a month right now, and it's been a long incubation period, but it's working, and appreciate it. And that's just my story.
Thank you,
Well,
Bud.
I do sometimes the work. Your one listing is worth 10 of mine, so who cares about?
Well, yeah. This summer I listed a bucket load of 60s and 80s and 100s, little probate houses in central Omaha, and you got to deal with it, So, one of these is nice to have once in a while. I also listed one at 275 a week or so ago, a probate. So, yeah, they're and nobody asks commission questions, so it's good business.
And Bud,
and I'll
just
leave
to
it at that.
compliment you, I remember our first call. You were a reluctant prospector. You really did not want to get on the phone, and you kind of stepped outside your comfort zone. And just from day one, I mean, I think it took you a month or so to get your first deal, but you've been consistently putting, one or two or three a month together. I mean, and I love the fact that you're frustrated you're not hitting 6% yet, but that's okay. You're failing at a very high level. You're consistently getting results, and I know it was outside your comfort level to do this. So I really appreciate you sharing. Thank you. I think it'll inspire other people there that are getting started.
And one last thing. When I talk to your people as a reference, I'm welcome them. I love talking to them, but I tell the people that are more my age that this business really requires about 85-90% administrative work and about 10% mouth and belly to belly, right? So it is a perfect business for a guy trying to retire out of beating the bushes every day. This is a good retirement business dealing with the probates. You follow?
Great. Excellent.
Anyway.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it, Bud. And I'm sure this didn't jinx you. Bud didn't want to mention it because he's off to get the contract signed now. But I think just the opposite. I think this will ensure that you get it sold right away. And I think virtually every one that you have listed so far has sold, correct? Or a majority of them?
Yeah, we don't get cancellations. I actually get thank you notes. I got one yesterday from Tampa, Florida for a house in Omaha, and the gal was so happy we handled it so well. She even sent me a gift card. We're going to have dinner tonight. So.
Great. That may lead to something else. I don't know if you're single or not, but that's
no.
great. Thanks for sharing, Bud. We really appreciate it. Go get them.
All right, thanks.
All right, take care. We have one more person in the queue, and we've got about 5 minutes left, so we probably have time for one more if there's anybody else. Hit *6 and then hit 1. And Jim, you are up. Jim Gilbert, welcome.
Hey, yeah, I just was going to comment on the guy talking about the negative feedback on the calls. I've been on this since May, I think, is when I started. And it seemed like that I started out getting a lot of the negativity from the people, but the last couple of months it don't seem like I get any. So I don't know. Maybe I changed my verbiage or something on how I'm saying it, but it's not bad at all anymore. And I think a lot of it's got to do with the more you do it, you just get used to it, and let it roll off your back, and go on.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
It comes down to
Chad, it reminds me, Chad and I were at an event one time, and we had a gentleman that his very first call, I mean, the seller just kind of ripped him a new one. And Chad, I think you spent 40 minutes with the guy. And very similar, Jim, we talked to him a few months later, and he went 3 months without another person blasting him. He just happened to start off with the rough one. And, it's kind of the luck of the draw. What's that?
I said that's the way it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for
If
sharing.
you guys
appreciate it.
if you watch the fast track training, the reason video number 1 is start with why is this exact reason. if you believe you're doing the right things for the right reasons, you're going to be unshakable, and you're going to have confidence, and it's going to come through in your letters. It's going to come through in your tone of voice, and you can control those conversations and have people, take control of it and let them understand why it's a good thing you contacted them. And that's why it becomes easier over time. Like after you fall on your face a couple of times, and if people get really cut deep by this, I'll have them actually sit down and write a letter to the person that blasted them, and that helps them clear their mind and move on. And it gives them a chance to, who knows, maybe that person will actually have a shift in thinking and be like, oh, I totally saw that the wrong way, and they might call back. But it helps people clear it from their mind. And I've had a lot of folks do that. So, I mean, it's just get real clear on why you're doing this and believe in what you're doing, and it becomes really easy.
Awesome. We got 3 more people in the queue, so let's try to get to everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Jim, and thanks, Chad. Good, well said. All right, phone number ending in 1003. You are up.
Rodger Lisi here.
Hey, Rodger. Welcome.
Thank you. I want to play off of what Bud and what he's doing, and add on to his call that, and it's my experience that when you help a family with probate through this, everybody in the family is watching, and you're setting up a wonderful referral system from everyone else in the family, as long as you keep in touch with them. So you've got your second off purchases and building a sphere of influence with everybody in the family that you come in contact with.
Well said, thank you. And you have a lot in common with Bud. You're in a very rural area, and you also have a multi-million-dollar deal that you're working on. So I think we should all move to the country and specialize in 100-acre tracts of property, right?
You get some. The traffic's a lot better out here. Yeah,
amen. Well said. Thank you, Rodger. Thank you for sharing. We have 2 more in the queue, so I want to get to everybody. Phone number ending in 4364. You're up.
Hi, this is Ryan from Colorado.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, I was just curious, since you've done the last recorded script training or mock call, I don't know if this is the format you usually do, or do you do it once a month with the practicing, just hearing just the new dialogue?
Today's call, the weekly call on Thursdays at 1 o'clock Eastern, is just an open forum. It's really to help you, like today, questions, answers, complaints, success stories. It's an open forum to help you all with whatever you need help with. And then the first Wednesday of every month at 2 o'clock Eastern, we do the role play call. So we'll have another one coming up next Wednesday, I think, right, Chad? Or no, a week from Wednesday. So,
okay,
and you'll always get invitations to those now that you're a subscriber, Ryan. You'll get an invitation to the next role play call. And we try to keep the role play call, when we get questions, it's kind of like Jeopardy. Would you please frame that in the form of a question? We try to keep the role play calls go into a role play mode, not just have it be an open-ended question and answer session. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I guess my main question would be, I really believe the first question is the most important question to hook them. If you could just share with me kind of, we don't have to role play, but just what has been the most successful opening question that really draws them in?
Yeah, and by the way, Chad will handle that. And anytime you have a question, Ryan, you don't have to wait till the next mastermind call or role play call. Just send an email to support@alltheleads, and someone will call you back. In this case, it would be Chad. Chad, so what's the best opening question?
So, Ryan, the key to me to really opening these conversations and warming people up so we can have the conversation was what I've called the Probate USP, or your unique selling proposition. What you'll accomplish with that is flushing out objections beforehand. So I found that after doing this for a while, everyone wanted to know who the hell you were, how you got their information, why you reached out, all these things. So that's what you need to tell them. So this is who I am. this is how I got your information and why I reached out, what unique value I bring to the table that no one else does, and then end it on a question. And that question for me is usually, by the way, I've been talking the whole time. I didn't even ask, is there a home in the estate that you guys could use some help with, or is there a home you guys are, or is there property in the estate that you're thinking about selling, or find a way to frame that question to find out. It's a qualifying question, but you're also changing their state, because the whole time you're talking, they're going to be thinking about what the next thing they're going to say to you, and you end on that question and do not speak. When you end, sit there and wait and let them process all the other things that you told them. And usually what happens 9 times out of 10, when they speak, they will spill the entire story on you. And when you get somebody to tell you stories and vent stress, then you've built rapport. Like, you instantly bond with them and you can have a great conversation. That's how the vast majority of the conversations would go with me. So who I am, how I got their information, what unique value I can bring to them, and by the way, is there even a house that we're talking about today? And that was kind of the golden key for me.
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of asking open-ended questions that don't end in yes and no. So is there a way to form that question? Is there a property you're wanting to sell? Is a yes/no answer? Is there a way? What would be a good way to phrase that? Where it'd be like, so how many properties or how many assets are you needing to delegate right now? Or so it leads.
Here's a more telling question. Is okay. Well, great, Ryan. What's your plan for that? And if you don't have a plan, then I know you need me.
Okay.
So, by the way, is there any
Ryan,
any
what's your
property
plan getting the estate settled? Make sense?
Yeah, great. What's your plan for that? And if you don't have one, we need to talk, or you need me. I like that.
Right, and then you don't say that, but you know that in the back of your head for the rest of the conversation. Like, if they don't have a plan, it's a prime opportunity for you to be kind of the solution engineer and ask more questions. Okay, well, listen, if it's all right, I'll ask you a few more questions, and I always try to focus on people first, then the situation, then the property. Who cares how many
Ryan,
bedrooms?
if you really want to be assumptive, so I'm just curious, what's your plan for the real estate in the property? Just assume that there's real estate. They'll tell you if there isn't.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
I apologize, guys. We're rushing through today, and this is a good thing. We had an over-participation this week, so and that's a good thing. Really appreciate everybody. We've got one more person in the queue, and I want to get to everybody, so bear with us for a couple more minutes. And phone number ending in 1739, you're up.
Hi there, this is Brian. I'm a first-time subscriber to the system. I'm from New York, specifically Brooklyn and Queens.
Nice.
And it's thank you. It's a very competitive market where I am, and I've been trying everything to try to get an edge. And I thought that this would probably be the best way to do it. And quite frankly, the question that I had was the question that was just asked in the call prior on what is the best way to approach the executor of the estate or whomever's in charge of the estate. And I feel foolish asking the same type of question. So that was actually helpful how you actually said to let them know who you are, to be upfront and honest. And it looks like that's probably the approach that I'm going to be taking, because I have been getting a lot of negativity. Then again, there are a lot of sharks in the water in this area, and it's been all over the news how Queens and Brooklyn are actually, growing exponentially in price. It's phenomenal. I'm buying a house I'm in contract to buy a house right now for, I'm an investor, and I'm buying a house for $810,000 and $250,000 in renovations, and and then it sells for 1.6 and 1.7 million. So there's a lot of money at stake. And
sure.
It's very like I said, very competitive, and getting that edge is really what.
Are you licensed?
I'm sorry?
Are you licensed?
No, I am not licensed. I'm not licensed.
Are you teamed up with a realtor?
I'm teamed up with lots of realtors, and I am looking. What see, you know, the thing is here there are so many agents, and
here's because we're coming up against, it's like the clock is ticking. So I want to get this out, but you need to align yourself with an agent that you can really trust, that really understands probate. And you need to not pitch yourself as an investor, because these people are getting hammered with mail from investors in competitive markets. You will live and die by the phones, because I'll bet you're one of few, if any, that have their phone number, especially their cell phone number. So that's your biggest edge. We find in these really competitive markets, our phone numbers are what get people ahead. So you need to find a way to confidently call, but provide a wider scope of service than just we buy houses, because you need to differentiate yourself from the stack of mail that's on the table. And what we find is offering multiple options. Even if you don't care about listing houses, if you just want to buy them, you still should slow down, have the conversation, and kick the referral to your realtor and let him take it from there, him or her. But cover the same things. So you are a real estate professional. You're not a real estate investor, or you're a real estate expert. Try to get yourself out of those boxes that other people put themselves in, and differentiate yourself. But do it on the phone. Hi, this is Chad.
Chad, I was going to follow up on that. On our last call, we have a realtor in New York City. He's the fourth agent we've had in that market. He's in his first week. He sent out 6 listing packages. He said everybody he spoke to said, I've gotten 50 letters, but you're the only person that called me. So a very smart person told me at the beginning of my career, figure out what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. You know, if they're getting a ton of mail, pick up the phone. If all the other investors are talking about B, do the opposite. Really come from a sense of, you know, how can I serve your needs, and you'll get your share of listings. And you know, you'll really differentiate yourself from everybody else that's talking to them. And I wish we had more time to go into this, but would you please call back next week and we'll talk about it more. We're already 10 minutes over.
I actually will, because I really want to pick your brains even more. So I really will call next week, definitely.
Okay,
this is my first time calling, obviously, so I definitely will
Very
call back.
welcome, and don't wait till next week. If you want to help with something, supported all the leads. This was a great call, guys. It really, really was. We like to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We had all 3 of this call, and I'm proud to be working with a group of agents like you guys. You're doing the right thing for the right reason, and thank you all for everybody who took the time to share. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of our seasoned veterans. That you can hear that all the issues that the new people are having, the people that had them and stuck with it, are getting success, just a few months down the road. So I always like to end these calls by challenging y'all. You took 40 minutes of your time, and we really do appreciate it. Take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you from this call. Go out and put it into action, and please come back next Thursday and share it with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you next Thursday. Take care.